It was of a man getting off the bus in Sligo. But because it was so busy, we carry up to hundreds of people a day, I couldn't recollect him. But then they told me his name was Peter Bergmann.
At his reservation form, we would have asked him for some details, his name, his address, and that he wanted to book the room for 3 nights. He paid us in cash on arrival.
In June 2009, a man stepped off a bus in the quiet town of Sligo, Ireland. He had no luggage, no friends waiting to greet him, and no history that anyone could trace. He checked into a local hotel, paid in cash, and carried nothing but a purple plastic bag. He told no one why he was there. He used a name no one had ever heard of.
At his reservation form, we would have asked him for some details, his name, his address, and that he wanted to book the room for 3 nights. He paid us in cash on arrival.
4 days later, he would be dead. But this wasn't just another mysterious death. This was something else entirely. This was a man who had gone to extraordinary lengths to erase every trace of his identity. No ID, no phone, no wallet. He tore the tags off all his clothes. He walked the streets with intention, carrying items out of the hotel and never bringing them back. Every action was quiet, deliberate, and perhaps most chilling of all, completely undetected. He didn't just want to vanish. He wanted to become no one. But then, the ocean brought him back. And the moment his body washed ashore, Peter Bergmann became one of the most perplexing mysteries the internet has ever obsessed over.
He signed in using the name Peter Bergmann, Bergmann. Some countries use one N, others use 2. The indications are that Austrian nationals use 2 Ns.
A man who wanted to disappear and instead became unforgettable. This isn't just a case about death. It's a story about identity, secrecy, pain, and the final decisions we make when no one else is looking. Who was he? And why did he want so badly to be forgotten? This is the story of Peter Bergmann. Friday, June 12th, 2009. A man boards a bus in Derry, Northern Ireland, and 2.5 hours later he arrives in Sligo, a small coastal town known for its tranquility and scenic cliffs. He steps off the bus at 6:28 p.m, unnoticed by everyone. To the outside world, it was an unremarkable moment. But for Peter Bergmann, it was the beginning of the end. He walked straight to the Sligo City Hotel and booked a room for 3 nights. €65 a night, cash only. He didn't show ID, and no one asked. That small failure would later haunt the investigation. He signed the guest book with the name Peter Bergmann and listed an Austrian address, Einstedersen 15, Vine 4472. It looked official, believable. But there was just one problem. The address didn't exist. The street was fake. The postal code was fake. In Vienna, postal codes don't go that high. Whether it was a subtle mistake or a calculated misdirection, no one knows. Hotel staff recalled that he spoke softly, with what sounded like a German or Austrian accent. He wasn't overly friendly, but not cold either. Just invisible, the kind of man who doesn't leave a strong impression, the kind you forget minutes after meeting. That, it turns out, may have been the point. In hindsight, everything about Peter Bergmann's check-in was rehearsed, practiced, clean. He wasn't just passing through, he was staging something, and what came next would only deepen the mystery. Over the course of his 3-day stay, Peter left the hotel exactly 13 times. Each time he was seen carrying the same thing, a nondescript purple plastic bag. No branding, no markings, just a plain, crinkled bag, always held close. And each time he returned, the bag was gone. He didn't come back with shopping bags. He didn't appear to buy anything. He didn't bring anything new into his room. He only left with the bag. At first, this might seem like a strange coincidence, but security footage showed a pattern, one so precise it felt planned. Investigators tried to follow his movements through CCTV footage around town. They expected to see him dropping off the bag somewhere, maybe tossing it into a public bin, but they found nothing. Not a single frame of him disposing of anything. That's not easy to do in a town filled with cameras. Where did he go? What was in the bag? Clothing, documents, photos, medication? All we know is that he walked out with it and returned without it, repeating the process again and again as if shedding the layers of a life he no longer wanted to be part of. And the way he did it, the methodical pace, the camera avoidance, made investigators wonder, had he done this before? Was this the first time he tried to vanish? Or the last in a series of disappearances no one ever noticed? Monday, June 15th, his final day. Peter checked out of the Sligo City Hotel in the late morning, carrying only a small satchel and the clothes on his back. No suitcase, no luggage. It was like he had already discarded everything else he once owned. He walked to the local bus station and ordered a cappuccino and a sandwich. Security cameras captured him calmly eating, scribbling something onto a small piece of paper, reading it for several minutes and then tearing it into pieces. He threw the shredded paper into a nearby bin. No one ever found the note. Then at 2:40 p.m, he boarded a bus to Ross's Point, a quiet stretch of coastline known for its windswept beauty and haunting stillness. When he arrived, people noticed him. He didn't quite fit in. He was overdressed for the beach, black leather jacket, navy chinos, and he wasn't carrying a towel or a swimwear, but he wasn't threatening either. Just unusual. Throughout the afternoon and into the night, multiple witnesses reported seeing him walking the beach, slowly, thoughtfully, holding his shoes in his hands, rolling up his pant legs to wade through the water. But he never swam. He never even undressed. At 11:50 p.m, he was still there, walking in the moonlight as the tide rolled in, a solitary figure pacing the edge of the world. And then, he was gone. The next morning, as the sun rose over Ross's Point, Arthur Kinsella and his son Brian arrived at the beach. Brian was training for a triathlon, and his father came along for support. It was meant to be an ordinary day. Then they saw it. At first, Arthur thought it was a mannequin, left behind as a prank or washed up from a passing boat. But as they moved closer, a sense of dread crept in. It wasn't plastic. It wasn't a joke. It was a body, face down in the wet sand, pale and still. A man, lifeless. They called the police immediately. Sergeant Terry McMahon arrived on the scene at 6:45 a.m. He noted something eerie right away. There were no footprints leading to or from the body. None, except for those left by the Kinsellas. It was as if the sea had carried him in and gently placed him there. The man was wearing a navy blue t-shirt tucked into black briefs. Under the briefs was another layer, swimwear with blue, black and purple stripes. No pants, no shoes, no socks. A quartz waterproof watch clung to his wrist. Not a scratch on him. No wounds. No blood. Nearby, folded neatly on a rock, were the rest of his clothes. A black leather jacket, navy chinos, black socks, shoes and a belt. All tags removed. No wallet. No ID. No clues. Everything about him said, "I don't want to be known." But fate had other plans. The body was taken to Sligo University Hospital, where Dr. Clave Kilgallen performed the autopsy. What he found painted a tragic and painful picture. The man known as Peter Bergmann had advanced prostate cancer, terminal, aggressive, and spreading. It had already metastasized into his lungs and bones. Every movement, every breath must have hurt. He likely had only weeks, maybe days to live. But that wasn't the most shocking part. Despite the state of his body, there were no traces of any medication in his system. No morphine, no chemotherapy, not even over-the-counter pain relief. He had aspirin in his pocket, but none in his blood. Why? Was he refusing treatment? Couldn't afford it? Or was it part of the plan? He wasn't trying to survive. He wasn't trying to prolong his life. He wasn't numbing the pain. He was embracing it. Most assumed he walked into the ocean, choosing to let the tide carry him away. But the autopsy revealed something unexpected. He didn't drown. There was no water in his lungs, no foam in his airway, no signs of asphyxiation. His cause of death? Acute cardiac arrest. He had a heart attack. Whether triggered by the cold Atlantic waves, the emotional weight of what he was doing, or some poison that went undetected, no one can say for sure. But in the final moment of his plan to vanish without a trace, his own heart betrayed him. Why Sligo? It's not the kind of place most people would choose to spend their final days. It's not a major city, not a famous tourist trap. Just a quiet coastal town tucked into the northwest of Ireland, simple, serene, and often overlooked. But not by Peter Bergmann. Sligo has a strange reputation. It's a place steeped in myths and mystery. Nobel Prize-winning poet W.B. Yeats spent his summers here, writing about its haunted coastlines and forgotten spirits. He once called Ross's Point, the very beach Peter walked on, the most haunted place in the world. Just beside where Peter's body was found is a spot known as Dead Man's Point. According to local lore, it's where the sea buries its secrets. Shipwrecks, ghosts, sailors lost to storms. It's all part of the town's story. It's eerie, beautiful, poetic. Maybe Peter knew this, maybe he didn't. But his behaviour in Sligo suggests intention. He bought international stamps but was never seen mailing a single letter. What were they for? Who were they meant for? Were they part of his goodbye, or a piece of misdirection? He asked a bus driver about places to swim and pointed to a specific, lesser-known location on the map. When told it was better for surfing, not swimming, he quietly accepted the advice and asked to be dropped off at Ross's Point instead. Then he got out, looked around the beach, and when asked to be taken to the bus station, everything he did had a rhythm, a calm, a purpose. He didn't just want to die, he wanted the setting to be perfect. A place where the sea could carry him away, where history and myth blend into silence, where the man he used to be could dissolve, unnoticed. After the autopsy and investigation, the questions only grew louder. Who was this man who went to such lengths to disappear? Some believed he was a spy, someone with military or intelligence training, skilled in surveillance evasion. His ability to avoid every camera, his precision, his silence. It felt too professional to be random. Others thought he was fleeing something darker, maybe a criminal past, a failed identity, or enemies who would track him down if he left even a single clue. The Peter Bergmann name could have been one of many aliases. Sligo might not have been his first attempt at vanishing, just the most thorough. There are comparisons to other infamous cases. In 1970, the Isdal woman was found burned beyond recognition in Norway, with all labels removed from her clothes and belongings. Her identity remains a mystery. Like Peter, she seemed to vanish into thin air, leaving only more questions behind. Then there's the Somerton man from Australia in 1948. A man found dead on the beach with a hidden message in his pocket. No ID, no known identity, no answers. Was Peter Bergmann like them? Or was he simply a man facing death who wanted dignity and privacy? Not in a hospital bed, not in the eyes of strangers, not as a burden. He didn't want to be mourned. He wanted to be gone. Today, the man we call Peter Bergmann lies buried in an unmarked grave in Sligo Cemetery. The Irish government paid for the burial. There was no ceremony, no family, no name etched in stone, just earth. Irish law prevents a body from being exhumed without a legal reason. So unless someone comes forward, someone who knew him, loved him, or even knew his real name, he will remain there, unidentified. But strangely, he hasn't been forgotten. In trying so hard to vanish, Peter Bergmann became immortal in a different way. His story spread across the internet like wildfire. Forums, podcasts, YouTube channels, and amateur detectives from all over the world have tried to solve the puzzle. People comb through blurry CCTV stills, mapping out his final days, hoping for a missing link, a tiny clue. But the truth is, we might never find it. He took it with him. Some believe that solving his identity would bring him peace. Others argue the opposite, that he worked so hard to erase himself that maybe we should honor that wish. In Europe, the right to be forgotten is a legal right. It lets individuals remove traces of their past from public record, search engines, news archives, social media. But Peter didn't rely on courts or privacy laws. He did it by hand. And in doing so, he created something rare in the digital age, a mystery that the internet can't solve, an ending that no one can rewrite, a silence that speaks louder than any name ever could. So who was Peter Bergmann? A spy, a criminal, a man on the run, or just a soul who wanted to die with dignity, quietly, without dragging anyone else into his pain? We may never know, and perhaps we're not supposed to. In a world obsessed with identity, where we document every meal, every emotion, every passing thought, Peter Bergmann did the opposite. He removed himself, layer by layer. No tags, no digital footprint, no personal items, no traceable past. It's as if he was trying to reverse his existence, as if he believed the only way to truly die was to be erased completely. But in the end, something interrupted his plan. A heart attack, a twist of fate, a rogue wave that brought him back to shore, and with it, the one thing he never wanted, to be remembered. His story forces us to ask uncomfortable questions, not just about him, but about ourselves. What would it take for someone to want to vanish so completely? How much pain would you have to carry? What would you be trying to leave behind? Maybe we chase answers because we need them, not because he did. Maybe it's our need for resolution that keeps this story alive. And maybe, just maybe, the most respectful thing we can do is to let the mystery remain unsolved. But then again, that's not how humans work, is it? If this story pulled you in, let me know your thoughts in the comments. What's your theory? Was he running from something, or simply trying to go out on his own terms? And if you want more deep dive mysteries like this one, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. Wherever he came from, and whoever he truly was, Peter Bergmann is gone, but the questions he left behind, they're just getting started.